The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the Bronx warehouse, where Jackie Chan was filming his latest Hollywood production. At 41, he had already conquered Hong Kong cinema and was now making his mark in America. The familiar chaos of a film set surrounded him. Cameras, lights, crew members bustling about preparing for the next take. Jackie sat on a wooden crate, reviewing his notes for an upcoming fight sequence, when the temperature in the warehouse seemed to drop several degrees. "You've gotten comfortable," a voice said from behind him. Jackie turned, and his blood ran cold. Standing there, looking exactly as he had in the 1970s, was Bruce Lee. Not an actor, not a look-alike, but Bruce himself. The same intense eyes, the same confident posture, the same aura of coiled energy that had made him a legend. "Sifu?" Jackie whispered, using the respectful term for teacher, though Bruce had never formally been his instructor. Bruce stepped closer, his movements fluid and precise. "Hollywood is making you soft, Jackie. All these wires, these safety nets, these choreographed sequences that take weeks to plan. Where is the real martial arts in this?" Jackie stood up slowly, his mind racing. This couldn't be happening. Bruce Lee had died in 1973, when Jackie was just starting his career. Yet here he was, as real as the concrete floor beneath their feet. I don't understand," Jackie stammered. "How are you here?" "That's not the question you should be asking," Bruce replied, his voice carrying that familiar intensity that had captivated audiences decades before. "The question is, can you still move like a true martial artist? Or have you become just another action star?" The film crew continued their work around them, completely oblivious to Bruce's presence. It was as if this moment existed in a bubble, separate from the normal flow of time and space. Bruce walked over to a stack of wooden boards that were part of the set decoration. With a casual gesture, he picked up one of the planks and examined it. In the old days, we didn't have stunt coordinators planning every movement. We didn't have computers to remove the wires. We had to rely on pure skill, pure instinct. "I still train every day," Jackie protested, finding his voice. "I still do my own stunts. I get hurt. I bleed, just like always." "But do you still feel it?" Bruce asked, turning to face him directly. "When you fight now, do you feel the energy flowing through you? Or are you just hitting your marks for the camera?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Jackie felt a familiar fire beginning to burn in his chest. The same feeling he'd had as a young man training at the China Drama Academy under Master Yu Jim Yuan's harsh discipline. Bruce continued, "I see you in these films, Jackie. You're entertaining people, making them laugh, making them gasp at your stunts. But you've lost something. You've lost the warrior's heart." "Then show me," Jackie said, surprising himself with his boldness. "If you think I've become soft, prove it." Bruce smiled. Not the friendly expression of a movie star, but the predatory grin of a fighter who had just been given exactly what he wanted. "Clear your mind of cameras and directors and box office numbers. For the next few minutes, there is only you, me, and the art we both serve." The warehouse seemed to fade around them. The sounds of the film crew became distant, like echoes from another world. Jackie felt his breathing change, becoming deeper and more controlled. His stance shifted automatically, muscles remembering training from decades past. "Good," Bruce nodded approvingly. "I can see the real Jackie Chan starting to emerge. Now, let's see if you remember what speed really means." Without warning, Bruce moved. Not the calculated movements of a choreographed fight scene, but the explosive, unpredictable motion of a true martial artist. His hand shot toward Jackie's face in a technique that would have been invisible to normal eyes. But Jackie was no longer thinking like an actor. His body responded with pure instinct, deflecting the strike with a motion so fast it seemed to bend the laws of physics. The impact sent a shockwave through the air, and suddenly, Jackie remembered what it felt like to fight not for cameras, but for the art itself. "Better," Bruce said, already launching into his next attack. "But can you do better than just survive? Can you still create magic?" And in that moment, Jackie Chan rediscovered what it meant to be not just a movie star, but a true master of his craft. What happened next defied every law of physics that Jackie thought he knew. Bruce's attacks came in a blur of motion that seemed to exist outside of normal time. His fists moved like lightning, striking from impossible angles, forcing Jackie to respond with techniques he hadn't used in years. Not because he'd forgotten them, but because no opponent had ever been fast enough to require them. Jackie's body moved without conscious thought, muscle memory taking over as he flowed between defensive positions. He ducked under a kick that whistled through the air where his head had been milliseconds before, then spun away from a palm strike that would have sent him flying across the warehouse. But this wasn't just about defense anymore. "You're still reacting," Bruce called out, never breaking his rhythm of attacks. A true martial artist doesn't react. He creates the moment. The words hit Jackie like a revelation. He stopped thinking about defending and started thinking about possibilities. His eyes scanned the warehouse set around them. Scaffolding, props, cables, boxes, all potential tools for someone who understood how to use his environment. Bruce threw a straight punch with devastating force. Instead of simply blocking or dodging, Jackie grabbed Bruce's wrist and used the momentum to launch himself up onto a nearby camera platform. From there, he sprang backward in a perfect arc, his feet catching a hanging light fixture. The fixture swung him across the warehouse like a pendulum, and he released at the perfect moment to land behind Bruce. "Now you're beginning to remember," Bruce said, whirling around with a sweep kick that Jackie avoided by walking up the wall in 3 quick steps. What followed was a dance of impossible movement. Jackie bounced between walls, scaffolding, and equipment with the fluid grace of water flowing down a mountainside. Every surface became a launching point, every obstacle an opportunity. He grabbed a coil of rope and swung from beam to beam, his feet occasionally touching down on Bruce's shoulders or arms as he passed, not to strike, but to redirect his momentum in directions that seemed to violate gravity. Bruce met every movement with his own impossible techniques. He moved through space like a man who understood that the shortest distance between 2 points was whatever path he chose to take. When Jackie dove toward him from above, Bruce simply shifted sideways in a way that made him seem to step through dimensions, appearing 3 feet away from where he'd been standing. "You're remembering the joy," Bruce observed, as Jackie landed in a crouch, breathing hard but exhilarated. But joy without purpose is just performance. "What are you fighting for, Jackie?" The question stopped Jackie mid-motion. What was he fighting for? In his Hollywood films, he fought to entertain, to tell stories, to showcase spectacular action. But here, now, in this impossible moment, "I'm fighting to prove that I haven't lost myself," Jackie answered. And the honesty of it surprised him. "Wrong answer," Bruce replied, and his next attack was unlike anything that had come before. Bruce moved so fast he seemed to split into multiple copies of himself. Jackie found himself facing attacks from every direction simultaneously. High, low, left, right, each one real enough to cause serious damage, if it connected. But instead of trying to defend against the impossible, Jackie did something that would have made his stunt coordinators have heart attacks. He closed his eyes. In the darkness behind his eyelids, Jackie could feel Bruce's true movement, not the visual illusion, but the actual flow of energy and intent. There was only one Bruce, and only one real attack coming. Jackie moved with absolute certainty, stepping forward into what looked like certain destruction, but was actually the only safe space in a 3-foot radius. He caught Bruce's real strike with both hands, stopping the legendary Master's Fist inches from his chest. For a moment, they stood frozen in that position, the ghost of Bruce Lee and the very real Jackie Chan locked in perfect balance. "There," Bruce said quietly, and Jackie could hear the approval in his voice. "That's what I was looking for. You weren't fighting to prove anything to me, or to Hollywood, or to your fans. In that moment, you fought with the pure intention of your art." Jackie opened his eyes and found himself looking into Bruce's face. The intensity was still there, but now it was mixed with something else: respect. "But Sifu," Jackie said, "I still don't understand why you're here." Bruce stepped back, and as he did, his form began to shimmer slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "Because the world still needs real martial artists, Jackie. Not just actors who can fight, or fighters who can act. The world needs people who understand that martial arts is a way of living, not just a way of moving." The warehouse around them began to solidify again. The sounds of the film crew grew louder, more immediate. Jackie could feel normal time reasserting itself. "Your Hollywood career isn't making you soft," Bruce continued, his voice beginning to fade. "But don't let it make you forget who you really are. You have a gift, Jackie. Use it wisely." And with that, Bruce Lee began to fade like morning mist in sunlight. "Jackie! Hey, Jackie, you okay?" The voice belonged to his assistant director, Sarah, who was standing beside him with a concerned expression. Jackie blinked and looked around the warehouse. Everything was exactly as it had been before. The crew setting up for the next shot, the props in their designated places, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows at the same angle. "How long was I sitting here?" Jackie asked, his heart still racing from the encounter. "Sitting here? You've been standing in that exact spot for maybe 30 seconds, Sarah replied. "You looked like you were concentrating on something. We're ready for the next take whenever you are." 30 seconds. Jackie looked down at his hands. They were steady, but he could still feel the echo of Bruce's energy where their fists had connected. He could still smell the ozone in the air that had surrounded Bruce's presence. It had been real, more real than any movie he'd ever made. "Give me 5 more minutes," Jackie said. "I need to think about the choreography." Sarah nodded and walked away. Jackie remained standing where he was, processing what had just happened. If it had been a hallucination or a dream, it was unlike any he'd ever experienced. The physical sensations, the emotional impact, the clarity of Bruce's words, everything felt absolutely genuine. More importantly, he felt different. The routine movements he'd been planning for the next scene now seemed inadequate, like putting a tiger in a cage made for a house cat. His body was humming with renewed energy, and his mind was flooded with possibilities he hadn't considered in years. When filming resumed, the difference was immediately noticeable. The fight scene that Jackie had originally choreographed as a straightforward sequence became something else entirely. He moved with a fluidity and unpredictability that caught even his experienced stunt team off guard. Where they expected him to throw a standard punch, he flowed into a movement that incorporated 3 different martial arts styles. When the script called for him to use a chair as a weapon, he turned it into an extension of his own body, making it seem as natural as his own arms and legs. "Cut!" the director called after the first take. "Jackie, that was incredible, but it's completely different from what we rehearsed." "Is it better?" Jackie asked, already knowing the answer from the expressions on everyone's faces. "It's like watching a completely different person," the director admitted. Where did that come from? Jackie smiled, thinking of Bruce's words about fighting with pure intention. I remembered something I'd forgotten. The rest of the filming day passed in a blur of inspired performance. Jackie's renewed connection to his martial arts roots transformed not just his fighting scenes, but his entire approach to the character. He found depth and authenticity that elevated the simple action movie into something more meaningful. That evening, alone in his hotel room, Jackie sat in meditation for the first time in months. He reflected on Bruce's challenge and his own response. The encounter had forced him to confront a truth he'd been avoiding. In his pursuit of Hollywood success, he had indeed been losing touch with the spiritual foundation of his martial arts training. But Bruce hadn't appeared to criticize him. He'd appeared to remind him. The message wasn't that Hollywood was bad, or that commercial success was incompatible with authentic martial arts. The message was about balance, about maintaining the warrior's heart, even while entertaining the world. Jackie realized that his influence as a global star gave him a unique opportunity. Millions of people around the world watched his movies. If he could infuse that authentic martial arts spirit into his performances, he could inspire others to seek that same balance in their own lives. He could be a bridge between the ancient traditions and the modern world. The lesson was clear. Evolution didn't have to mean abandonment. He could honor his roots while growing as an artist. He could entertain audiences while still respecting the deeper principles of martial arts. The key was intention, approaching each role, each fight scene, each stunt with the same mindset he would bring to a real confrontation. Years later, Jackie would look back on that day as a turning point in his career. His subsequent films carried a different energy, a depth that critics and audiences recognized, even if they couldn't quite articulate what had changed. He began incorporating more philosophical elements into his movies, using his platform to share not just spectacular action sequences, but also the wisdom and discipline that martial arts could teach. Whether Bruce Lee had actually appeared that day, or whether Jackie's own subconscious had created the experience he needed, didn't matter. What mattered was the reminder that true mastery isn't about perfecting techniques or achieving fame. It's about maintaining the pure intention and warrior spirit that first drew you to the path. And every time Jackie stepped onto a movie set after that day, he carried with him Bruce's words. The world still needs real martial artists. He made sure he was one of them.